Hi hustlers, I'm going to be telling you why the middle class abuse the building poverty for their kids. Well, traditional education is dead. Love it or hate it. Let's not sugarcoat it. Traditional education, I think, died a slow, quiet death while parents were still busy buying uniforms, paying school fees, and convincing themselves that a certificate is the golden ticket. But imagine this: what if every single dollar you have spent on your child's school fees had been invested in building his actual potential? Have you ever thought of that? Not potential defined by grade, but potential defined by passion, by creativity, and by problem solving. Here is the uncomfortable truth: the middle class is busy raising the poor people of the future, not because they are lazy, not because they don't love their children, but because they are investing in a door that has already been locked by time. Well, back then in the old days, world had one formula, just one formula, and it was land plus labor. The man with the biggest farm, the most wives, and the most children has economic power. Every child was a worker in the farm, every wife was an asset. The economy was simple: more hands, more harvest equals to more wealth. Then the West brought education. But pay attention, this is the twist many don't know. The wealthy families of that era didn't send their biological children to school. Yes, they did not. They kept them on the farm, training them in what mattered. And they focus on land, crops, livestock, and real wealth. Instead, it was the children of the poor, the servants, and the farm boys that were sent to sit in classroom. Why? There was a reason. It was because the elite feared that the white man might punish their own children, or they simply didn't believe in the white man's lesson as of then. But then, season changed. The world tilted. Suddenly, education became the new oil. These servant children came out of classroom with power. They could write, they could read, they could calculate and negotiate in a language that the new world demanded. And just like that, the pyramid flipped, and those with no land, no cattle, no family wealth rose to the top overnight. They became doctors, they became teachers, they became lawyers and civil servants. Education had become the ladder that took them from nothing to something. But here's where the tragedy begins. That generation forever remained grateful to the white man's education, and because of this, they vowed one thing. Most of them vowed this: my children will never suffer like I did. Some of them will tell you that I will give them the very best of education money can buy. It was a noble intention, but a misplaced strategy. They worked themselves to the bone, they denied themselves vacations, they denied themselves luxuries, and sometimes even food just to pay the fees of their children. And a lot of them sent them to expensive private schools, foreign universities, degrees upon degrees. But time had shifted again. Education was no longer the key because I feel the lock had been changed. In the early 1950s, the key was literacy. In the 1980s, the key was specialization. And in the early 2000s, the key became innovation, technology, and entrepreneurship. But the middle class, they are still holding on to yesterday's key, trying to open tomorrow's door. So here's the hard slap of reality. Their children graduate with first class, only to realize that the marketplace doesn't pay for certificates anymore. The game has changed. The world doesn't care what you study. Hustlers need to understand this. It cares what you can solve, not what you claim you studied in school. And so here we are. We have a generation of highly educated young men and women who are jobless, who are depressed and often angry and highly dependent. That's why every corner of the street you see depressed, anxious people doing drugs. The system is so messed up because the investment went into paper and not actual potential that matters in the 21st century. But here's the data that caught my attention while I was researching on this. According to the World Economic Forum, they say over 65% of children entering primary schools today will work in jobs that don't even exist yet. So how can old syllables prepare them? How can old method prepare them for the future? UNESCO says over 280 million young people worldwide are unemployed or underemployed, most of them with degrees. Meanwhile, the billionaires of today, I'm talking about the likes of Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Aliko Dangote, Mark Zuckerberg, these guys did not cash out on certificate. They are cashing out on innovation. They are cashing out on ideas, and they are busy solving problems at a large scale. But here's the brutal truth. The middle class is committing a crime against their children, not out of wickedness, but out of ignorance. Sheer ignorance. They love their kids, but they are not loving them in the right way. They love their kids, but they are loving them in the wrong way. They are equipping them for a world that no longer exists out there. Let me tell you this. If you prepare your child for yesterday, you have sentenced him to poverty tomorrow. So what now is the way out? The answer is simple. I think the answer is enlightenment. The key has shifted once again. Not education in the traditional sense, but education of a higher kind. I am talking about financial literacy. I'm talking about problem-solving skills. I'm talking about tech and digital skills. I'm talking about global thinking. I'm talking about emotional intelligence. I'm talking about adaptability and much more. For these are the currencies of the future. These are the seeds that grows wealth in the new economy. So the question is this: will you keep wasting money buying old keys for your children, or will you choose to invest in sharpening their real potential to become real-time hustlers of the future? Because as Jim Rohn once says, formal education will make you a living, self-education will make you a fortune. And I will add this: formal education might keep you afloat, but only and only enlightenment will make you unstoppable. So parents need to understand this, that times have changed, and don't let your love turn into your child's curse. Don't build poverty with your sweat. Imagine the regret of a father who worked 3 jobs just to give his son the best education, only for that son to graduate into unemployment. And then imagine the pride of a father who invested in his son's potential and watch him build something the world couldn't ignore. So the choice is yours. The future is here. The question is simple: will your children inherit wealth, or will they inherit struggle dressed in beautiful certificates from some of the best educational institutions around the world? So let's stop pretending in Africa the tragedy is even louder. Go to the street of Lagos, go to the street of Nairobi, go to the street of Accra. What you will see PhD holders driving keke. You will see graduate of engineering selling data bundles on the street hawking. You will see master degree holders begging for any job at all. And yet at the same time, you will find a young man who didn't graduate from university running logistic business with over 50 bikes. A girl who studied fashion design in a roadside shop is cashing out millions every month on Instagram. You'll find a dropout hiring graduate to work in his tech startup. This is not just an insult to education. We saw what happened recently with the popular streamer Bella. He's roughly 19 years old. He opened a job vacancy and see the numbers of graduate. I'm talking about master degree holders that showed up just for this job. Then you know that there's a problem with the system. Well, take note of this. This video is not an insult to education. It's a wake-up call. Look at the likes of Aliko Dangote. He has no fancy Ivy League degree. He has no obsession with certificate, but he built an empire so large that today thousands of PhD holders work under him. Think about it. One man with no certificate is paying salaries to over 40,000 people with certificate. So who really is educated? The one who can quote books, or the one who can build system that fits nation? Every Nigerian knows this story. A graduate spends roughly 4 years in school. Most times their parents borrow money, sell land, denying themselves food to pay his fees. He comes out with a degree, but there are no jobs. So what happens next? He becomes a Bolt driver, hustling every day while his parents brag about his numerous degrees. Now compare him with a welder who started apprenticeship at the age of 14. Today that welder, if you check, has a shop. He employs 3 boys or 4 boys, and he's building a house. He's doing something good for his community and for his family. So who then has gotten it wrong? Is it the one with certificate but no cash flow, or the one with no certificates but financial growth? But here's the irony: African parents would rather boast that their son studied abroad than boast that their son built a company. They would rather starve to pay for a UK school fee. Do you know how expensive that is? Than invest that money into starting a family business. They love appearance more than result. But appearance don't pay rent. Appearance don't build wealth. Appearance don't survive the storm of the future and the storms of the 21st century, which is about to come. So what then, guys, is the new key if education is no longer the key? We are not saying don't go to school, don't get it twisted. What I'm saying here is that don't worship the certificate. Don't go about killing yourself for a paper that cannot feed your child. If the likes of Dangote, Otedela, and the rest had waited for a government job, he will be retired today on a 200,000 naira pension or less. If the likes of Innocent Motors had believed in government work, we will never have had a Nigerian car on the streets of Nigeria today and most African countries. If the Jumia founders were chasing MSc degree, do you think they would have built a billion-dollar company? Now you need to think about this. These are realities. The pattern is clear. Wealth no longer comes from just paper. Wealth now comes and flows from potential. So you need to ask yourself, what exactly are you preparing your children for? What are you preparing yourself for? To compete for jobs that don't exist, or you are preparing them to create jobs that others will compete for? The choice is all yours. Remember this: in today's Africa, certificates don't guarantee survival, but skills, creativity, and entrepreneurship will guarantee your legacy. And if you doubt me, just step outside and look around. You can see the evidence for yourself. So thanks for staying with us on this. We hope this helped you and your hustle journey as you keep building that one thing that really matters to you. If you haven't joined our growing community of hustlers, just endeavor to click on the subscribe icon. Thanks.